success in the terms of breaking out during this coronavirus crisis in the absence of federal leadership. Brian Grimm of The Intercept reporting governors have become some of the public faces of the effort to combat this coronavirus pandemic. Some of them, like New York's Andrew Cuomo and California's Gavin Newsom, have arisen to the media status of national heroes, certainly in comparison to the deadly daily clown show we just talked about on display at the White House. Others have been exposed themselves as just blatantly unfit for office, such as Georgia's Brian Kemp, with this mind-blowing audio clip of him saying that he didn't even know about this key fact that pretty much everybody knows, like literally since like February, since the coronavirus.
Soon thereafter, we got the same word at long last from the governor of Georgia, who finally issued his own stay-at-home order at long last today, after saying, I kid you not, that he only just learned today, he only just heard that people who are asymptomatic can still spread the virus. And so maybe that's why everybody should stay at home. Governor of Georgia today said he had never heard that before today.
The CDC has announced that individuals can be infected and begin to spread coronavirus earlier than previously thought, even if they have no symptoms. From a public health standpoint, this is a revelation and a game changer.
A revelation to everybody who's been on Planet Governor Brian Kemp for the past couple of months. That must indeed be a revelation. No stay-at-home order until today, because he had no idea until today's revelation that asymptomatic people can spread it. It must be an absolute revelation to everybody who's been living inside his head for the past couple of months. Also the fact that, Tom Brady left the Patriots. Also, daffodils come up this time of year. There's some...
Yeah, like literally, we've known that for like 2 months at this point. So it's really, really quite crazy. So this guy, Andy Beshear, though, between the coasts, is really this kind of remarkable story of this guy, Andy Beshear, who's been handling the coronavirus crisis, and he really looks especially strong next to the neighboring Tennessee. These two states have really been a life and death experiment, showing the difference between governing and not governing during the face of a pandemic. The 42-year-old son of former Governor Steve Beshear won a contested Democratic primary against a more progressive opponent, and then went on to face the extraordinary, unpopular Matt Bevin in the general election this fall. The Libertarian Party, which Bevin had tussled with, decided to field a candidate simply to undermine him. The Libertarian polled 28,000 votes, just enough to swing the election, as Beshear beat Bevin by a very close 5,000. So the Republicans in the state legislature immediately began calling the result illegitimate, with Republican Kentucky Senate President Robert Stivers said it was appropriate of Bevin not to concede, and the GOP-controlled legislature might end up choosing the victor. He specifically cited the Libertarian vote, claiming the results weren't a genuine reflection of support for the Republican incumbent. It felt like a dry run of 2020, really, which skeptics have warned that Trump may not concede even if he loses, and there may be some drawn-out fight. Well, I always say, like, let's cross that bridge when we come to it. Let's first focus on actually beating him, hopefully by a good margin, so that a case that he may make may look even legitimate or really stupid. But instead of a quivering response, the public has come to respect from the Democrats. The threat of a lawsuit, complaints about the norms to the media. Beshear plowed forward, talking and acting like the rightful winner of the election. He began naming cabinet members and setting up his government, and in the face of his show of force, the media recognized him as the winner of the election, and the GOP crumbled. Like, guys, we did it. We did something actually good that was effective. So Beshear was sworn in as the Democratic governor December 10th, 2019, immediately began wielding power. That day, he signed an order restoring voting rights to more than 100,000 felons. He killed Bevin's Medicaid overhaul, which had been designed to throw people off the rolls. Another key issue in the election had been anger from teachers at Bevin over a slew of assaults, chief among them his attempt to undercut their pensions. Bevin had been concealing a 65-page official analysis of that plan, showing its cost to public workers and its ineffectiveness in the long term. Beshear spiked the plan, and on December 20th, publicly released the assessment in all its gory details, which is something that was really effective and really quite damaging to some of the Republican Party there, and it's something that really cuts against their attempt to make inroads with the working class. The Democratic Party, at least on a national level, really seems to be doing their best to abandon them. In February, Beshear, at a deacon at his local church, became the first governor to appear at the Fairness Rally, an anti-discrimination event launched each year by LGBTQ leaders. A photo he took with a group of drag queens launched a local scandal, and one Republican lawmaker lashed out at him for defiling the state capitol. Beshear again fought back, calling the lawmaker's attack homophobic and demanding he apologize personally to everybody in the photo. Beshear's aides and the state party called on the man to apologize, transforming the scandal into one about Republicans and their backward views on social issues. So, yeah, that's how you actually play politics. It really isn't that hard. Really is not that hard. Days later, on March 6th, Beshear became one of the first governors in the country to treat the coronavirus pandemic with the seriousness it deserves, declaring a state of emergency when he announced the state's first confirmed case a day before New York State as well. So Cuomo, the much heralded governor, was beaten there by Beshear. On the same day, Trump toured the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, declaring himself a natural expert. Anybody that wants a test can get a test, Trump lied from the CDC. I like this stuff. I really like it. People were surprised about how much I understand it. Every one of these doctors said, how do you know so much about this? Maybe I have a natural ability. Maybe I should have done that instead of running for president. So Trump's expertise had led him to conclude on March 2nd the pandemic would be less of a problem than a flu. We're talking about a much smaller range of deaths, he said. 2 days later, he told Fox News' Sean Hannity it's very mild. The day after Beshear declared a state of emergency, Trump said at a dinner with Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro and his entourage who went home with the virus at Mar-a-Lago, I'm not concerned at all. On March 10th, he was still full of bliss. It will go away, he said. Just stay calm. It will go away. Meanwhile, Tennessee's Republican Governor Bill Lee followed Trump's lead, telling his state's residents no emergency declarations were necessary. Even though Tennessee had more large urban centers than neighboring Kentucky, he finally switched course nearly a week later and declared emergency, citing new information. By that point, Beshear had already ratcheted up his warnings, urging Kentuckians to take the crisis seriously and avoid large gatherings. By March 11th, he announced coming closures of school. Beshear began a 5 p.m. daily press briefings that had become appointment TV for a nervous public, even as Kentucky has one of the lowest spreads of the virus, producing endless memes celebrating the governor's empathy and authoritarian style, with a picture of Kermit the Frog tucking a little stuffed animal bear or whatever into bed, and the Kermit the Frog is Governor Andy Beshear just tucking the entire state of Kentucky into bed very, very quickly, patting him on the head, which, I mean, it almost can be kind of like when you just have someone in there who knows what they're doing and is not also actively trying to violate your civil rights, violate some of your liberties that you're trying to hold dear here. Like, that can be very, very reassuring and a very, very weird feeling for us, I think, here in America. Less than 2 weeks later, Beshear began warning Kentuckians not to travel to Tennessee, where cases were exploding. Here in Kentucky, we have taken the very aggressive steps to try and stop the limit the spread of coronavirus to protect our people. We have made major sacrifices, such as shutting down bars and restaurants, nail salons, and all these forward-facing businesses. Our neighbors from the South, in many cases, have not. On Sunday, the U.S. Army restricted travel to Nashville from nearby Fort Campbell, Kentucky, as well. Tennessee's mistakes couldn't be allowed to harm the Kentuckians, he warned. I cannot control Tennessee. I cannot control that Tennessee has not taken the steps that we have. Beshear said, I need you to be strong in your pride in this state, and I need you to make sure that you don't become someone else's lack of action and ultimately bring it back to Kentucky to harm us. So, yeah, he's really going out there. Beshear by choosing to actually govern, has gradually risen to his own hero status in the state, and like Cuomo, became an unlikely sex symbol as well. A Reddit thread titled "Govern Me Daddy" became a salon headline and a t-shirt, which, I mean, I don't know. I have my qualms about telling any centrist governor, turning any centrist governors into sex symbol, or really any leftist governors for that symbol, because it's so weird. But anyway, it's just, I don't know, it's just something we just have to deal with at this point. But anyway, something we also going to have to deal with, folks, is smug liberal elitism from the New York Times, Michael Barbaro. Michael Barbaro, you know him well as the kind of chill salt and pepper, soothing voice that either you or your liberal relatives listen to a lot on the Daily Podcast, if you're in at least certain parts of the country, not the South. But anyway, yeah, he's the host of the Daily Podcast, and me personally, my mom listens to him, and she's pretty much convinced my dad to listen to him as well. My dad is much more of a economics guy. Like he's much more. He's literally in the other room listening, like CNBC right now. He's doing his job, whatever. Working from home, as we're very lucky to have him in the home and not out there working. He's not part of an essential business. Let's just say that. So thank goodness for that. But Michael Barbaro is also working from home, and literally, the thing I just don't get about his podcast is like the way he pronounces words, because like what he does is, and I'm sure like Milo, who's like literally also in the other room right now, would not like me for this, but it is it's really, really weird the way he puts so much emphasis on the words. Like he thinks people care. He's like, he's put like scripts out because every one of his fans like finds it so adorable that he's like, anyway, on today's episode of The Daily, and the words are like capitalized and emphasized and paused. Like, just say the words in your normal voice. I don't think anyone cares how you say the words. Like, it's like he needs a robot. Like, he's a robot that needs like to be programmed into how to speak properly. Like, no, just dude, speak the way you want to speak. Like, I don't get it. Like, what's the need for speak? And like all the people listening, oh, that's so adorable. Oh my, he's so cute. Like, I don't know, but it is. I don't get the obsession with it. I mean, he's done good episodes before. I mean, about some things, but I don't really listen to him that much. But my mom, big fan. He has been known. He's come up a few times in the past as literally just begging the MTA to do something about a very scary homeless person who was kind of sleeping on the subway station, writing, "This situation has become dangerous and unacceptable," and then tagging the MTA on Twitter. Just please tell that homeless man he's disturbing me by sleeping on the floor. Oh, like he's never been in New York City before. Yeah, it is really something that he did. And recently he did tweeted something that was kind of quite annoying. And this comes up in the discourse and written here by Samantha Grasso. It's written up. And I do want to give a shout out to the discourse, because this is really what they do. Like they do this better than anyone. Like most other publications don't really have, I think, it worthy, or just don't really want to make the unnecessary enemies, I guess, of kind of clowning on these like powerful people who are in positions of importance, either journalistically or politically. And people who in a supposedly liberal publication you'd probably lay off of. And that's probably one of the best things about it. Like you see something stupid on Twitter, you grumble about it. It's like, oh, but then in the back of your mind, you think, oh, who cares? It's not even a big deal. But there's someone who writes it up in an article on a website with the same thoughts as you, which can be a little bit therapeutic in times. So on Thursday morning, he tweeted out a map of the U.S., colored in according to when people stopped traveling more than 2 miles during the coronavirus pandemic. And the illustration was titled, "Where America Didn't Stay Home Even as the Virus Spread," the coronavirus. It was broken into by March 16th, by March 19th, by March 24th, and by March 26th, and then not by March 26th. And pretty much the entire South was colored in as staying home not by March 26th. And the way he captioned it, get ready for the incredible smugness of the tone, even though it was a word. He wrote, "In a word, the South." Which, by the way, it's 2 words, the and South. But whatever. Like, you can hear, can't you, the smug, like, the South. Like, it really kind of, I know that they're like, you're supposed to, as someone from the North, like, you're supposed to look down the South as like hippie, or not hippies, but like hillbillies and just like hicks and like just disgusting people. But it's always like kind of stuck in my craw, to say the least, about like you shouldn't do that. It just doesn't feel right, because I mean they're Trump supporters to a large degree. Like that's the perception of them in the South.